Hello and welcome to the 36th episode of Fresh Off the Reel. My name is Lib,
And my name is Sunflower Enjoyer Pat.
and today is the second part of our 1 year anniversary special. Actually, we're recording this on the day of the 1 year anniversary, August 30th. Today, 1 year ago, we released the first episode of Fresh Off the Reel, where we talked
Woo!
about, I think it was the Suicide Squad. Yes.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Don't listen to that episode. It's not good.
In hindsight, that was a kind of weird movie to do our first episode on.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was new, so like I get it from that perspective, right? You're talking about a trending movie, right? But I think like for us, it's like a weird pick. I mean, we both like the movie, but you think we would have done a movie we had already seen that we enjoy and have a lot to say about? Because in hindsight, I have a lot of things I wish I said about the Suicide Squad at the time.
Yeah, me too.
But it's too late now.
It's far too late. In fact, it's 1 year too late. And a bit extra, actually, because we recorded that like a month before the episode actually came out.
We have grown and changed a lot over this past year. How we talk about movies has definitely changed. Go watch 2 seconds of the Silence of the Lambs episode and then come back here to see that stark difference.
Yep.
uh,
Actually, don't even listen to the Silence of the Lambs episode. It's not good. All the episodes before we figured out how it worked, which was like episode yesterday.
where is? Let me pull up the episode list. Hold on. I'd say I'm proud of more or less every episode since since Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah, I think that's one of the first episodes that we did really really well in like the actual review.
Yeah, I think that starting like I think that's the episode that's the first episode that came out that I was like, yeah, okay, that was like real solid, right?
Yeah, the first episode that was completely unscripted was our Monster House episode. Like I even like pulled up a meme in the middle of the episode to show you. Remember?
That one was a good episode, like
To
banter
record.
wise. It was a fun episode. It's a good episode. Like I'm proud of it. But I think like we got consistent with Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah, Tick Boom, which was episode 10. You know, nice round number. I think that you even like got your new mic by then. So
I
the
think so.
podcast just sounded better to begin with. And I got my new volume mixer where I can do things like, well, I'm not gonna touch it, but I could do things like this and maybe this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's definitely some episodes since then that I wish we did a bit differently. At least on my end, I wish I said more or I elaborated my points on further. I'm looking at most recently the Thor: Love and Thunder review. I think could have been done a little bit better, but at least on my part, I don't know if Lib would
I
agree.
don't know. Cause since I'm the one who actually edits the episodes, I have like I pretty much know like everything that happens in every episode, and I have to listen to it like 15 times. But okay, that's not true. I listened to it like twice. It's weird because I'm listening to it in bits and pieces and not all together until I'm actually done. And what like while I was editing the Thor: Love and Thunder episode, I thought it was pretty good. But then after it was done and I listened to it, I was like, we could have talked about a lot more. But I think it's because in that episode we were very negative. It's that seems to be like a trend for episodes that were super negative. We're not really reviewing it fairly. Like for our Matrix Resurrections episode, I think that's our most negative episode still.
I was just gonna bring that one up, yeah, as an example where we were kind of just negative the whole time, and it shows in the length where we kind of just wanted to wrap it up quickly. But like in hindsight, I would say more about certain things in Love and Thunder and maybe want to stretch it out a little bit longer. But it is what it is.
There's only like a couple episodes that I would like want to redo. The Science of the Lambs episode is a big one that I would want to maybe try again. And the Suicide Squad, just to say things that weren't said, because we also recorded that like I think we watched it the day before we recorded
Yeah,
actually.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that we've done that before. Like actually fun fact, the first episode was supposed to be on Black Widow. No, the first episode was supposed to be Black Widow, and then the second episode was supposed to be Shang-Chi. But I think for Black Widow, we just didn't like it enough to talk about it, and
Yeah,
Shang-Chi is just I couldn't watch it in theaters.
yeah, that's exactly it. And again, in hindsight, I'm happy we didn't start with Black Widow because that would have been a really like kind of negative review, and I didn't want to start on that kind of note. The Suicide Squad is at least a movie we both enjoy, regardless of its issues that we may or may not have elaborated on fully. The movie's fun. I think it's a good movie to just shoot the shit with. Same with like Free Guy.
Oh yeah, we did Free Guy.
Yeah, we did. We watched that together in theaters, and then
I do remember that. My opinion is very different now. I think I was very positive in that review, but now I'm like, because I rewatched it later with a friend, and I was like, yeah.
I didn't rewatch, and I rewatched it like because we did a year in review, right?
Yeah.
And I had rewatched it sometime before that year in review, and my opinion has definitely changed since then. And then my opinion has changed even more from then till now. But I think Free Guy was a fun movie to talk about, whereas like we did other games, wow,
Whoa,
other
wow.
movies. Like I think they're like what we watched in September, or not like the what we watched episode. I think we did two of them, two or three.
We only did two, yeah.
I think those are our worst episodes. I think in terms of like what we talked about because those are like they're just not entertaining. I find.
I mean, the second one was just us talking about James Bond a lot, and
Yeah.
that's that episode. I said in last episode that the one that we had to re-record was the third one. I was wrong about that. The one we had to re-record was the eighth episode, which was what we watched in September and October. That one we had to completely re-record because I really fucked up that one.
Yeah, that's the first time that's happened. It's only really happened twice.
Yeah, it's only really happened twice. Like, and the second time it happened was, and we didn't even re-record. We just had to extend the recording day. Like that was the Lightyear episode. We just had to pause and record the next day because Pat's neighbor had a fun time.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's pretty crazy that we've been doing this for already a year. It feels like really short. Like it flew by really quickly.
it did. Yeah,
Like it feels like the Oscars just happened. It's weird. We're closer to the next Oscars than we are to the last Oscars. It's weird.
that is true. We also met like not long before the podcast started.
Yeah, that's true. We met like in 2020, I think.
Yeah, we met like December. I want to say.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I think that the first time I met you in person was at Steph's house. I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm 100% sure. I think we were watching the Nintendo Direct.
No, the first time we met in person was when we came to bother you at work.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, the first time we hung out. I'm pretty sure was at like Steph's.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it was a crazy time. Cause then like not even a year later, we're like, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, not even like 2 months later. Like, what's
It's weird because I didn't have a Letterboxd account. I didn't even know what Letterboxd was until Pat was screen sharing in our Discord server, and he opened Letterboxd, and I was like, "What is this?" Well, shit. Let me make an account because that looks cool. And now we based our whole fucking podcast on it.
yes, sir. I mean, we mentioned this a lot, so it's not really a fun fact anymore. But the original name of the podcast was Backlogged. Yeah, with no E in reference to Letterboxd and it being a backlogging website.
Yeah, it's a weird history that the podcast went through. We had like a lot of different names. Like, we really wanted to use Backlogged, but somebody took it, so we couldn't use it. But,
Yeah.
but what's funny is our email still has it.
Yep.
Oh man. But now it's time to actually get into what this episode really is, because part 2 of the 1 year anniversary special, we decided for this special that we would review my favorite movie and then Pat's favorite movie. And Pat, it's time for your favorite movie.
Yep. Last time we talked about Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and today we're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which ironically is coming out on my birthday. So if you're watching this on the day it releases, I'll be doing nothing because my birthday is on a Monday.
Even more ironically, you are not listening to this on Pat's birthday. This is the day after his birthday. So there you go. Happy belated birthday, Pat. It's not a true fresh off the reel episode unless it gets delayed. Back to the show.
But yeah,
Yeah, this episode's coming out on Pat's birthday. So happy birthday, Pat! Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Let's hope you're having a good 26th. I remembered.
Yes,
I remembered. See, I'm a good friend. I remember.
you remembered.
Your champagne birthday was when you were 5 years old.
Yay!
That's pretty crazy. Mine's next year, 21.
Nice.
But hey, we're gonna finally talk probably the biggest cinema because I believe this is one of the best movies ever made. This is I think that's an objective opinion, honestly.
That's an oxymoron, but I
That's true. I
agree.
think it's an objective fact.
I agree. I think this movie, so like this movie kind of came out at a weird time, right? For Spider-Man, where the last because this movie is made by Sony, right? This is while Marvel had the rights to use Spider-Man in the MCU, but the last Sony made Spider-Man movie was Amazing 2, right? So we were all still a little bummed about the Amazing 2 fiasco. This is pre like we didn't know this movie didn't exist yet, so we didn't really have another taste of what Sony could do with Spider-Man property. So we're all a little bit worried that this movie stars not Peter Parker, although he's in the movie. It stars a different Spider-Man. This would also be a first for the silver screen. And I'm just gonna throw this out there. Pre Into the Spider-Verse, Miles, I don't like Miles too much. I think a lot of people didn't like Miles too much before this movie. So there's a lot of things to be a little bit worried about. But thankfully, this movie came out. It was fantastic. I think it is close to a masterpiece. There's some problems with it that we'll get into, mainly the third act. But this is a near masterpiece. In my opinion, it saved Miles Morales as a character. Since then, he's become much more interesting in every media, not just the movies. Like he changed, and I think this movie gave Miles that spice he really needed. It made Spider Verse a story that doesn't completely suck, which I'll get into again later. We're talking about the comics, by the way. But yeah, this movie was just a really good.
Yeah, I mean, but before this movie came out, Sony the movie that came out right before this one was Goosebumps 2, and then before that was Hotel Transylvania 3. So Sony Pictures Animation was let's be real here, okay? Let's real talk, okay? Sony's Pictures Animation is probably the worst animation studio. They're worse than Illumination. I think they're worse than Illumination just in general. Because Illumination, at least Illumination, they have like pretty animation. Okay, let's be real here. Illumination movies look good, but you got Sony's Pictures Animation. You got like shit like they do like the Smurfs, and they have Lost Village, which looks terrible. You got the Emoji Movie, just that on its own. Peter Rabbit is terrible. The open season movies are all bad. Then he got like they had a deal with Aardman Animation at one point, and they made Arthur Christmas and the Pirates Gang of Misfits, and those two movies are good, but Aardman made those. Sony just published them. And then when Sony made Into the Spider-Verse and they tapped into this creative field that they didn't really know no one really knew existed, making movies look like comics. They tried it again with the Marshalls, the Mitchells versus the Machines, which again is a very good movie. I have that movie at 5 stars, but I feel like they're trying to stick to this comic looking style, and they're gonna keep doing it until it gets old, and that's what sucks about Sony. They were one of the first ones to do live action mixed with 3D animation, and they did it until Peter Rabbit and then Goosebumps, and then it sucked, right? So it's really weird the place in the animation industry that Sony is in. But I'm just an animation like big head about animations, so I just wanted to get that out there.
But it also like inspired other companies to follow this animation style. Like it's not out yet, but DreamWorks is doing that Puss in Boots. Is that a movie or a show?
Movie.
It's a movie, and that's very Spider Versey
Yeah,
in terms of how it's animated in the art style.
yeah. DreamWorks kind of dipped their toe in the waters there when they did the Bad Guys, because that's kind of like a really it's in a lower frame rate. The 2D is very like it looks kind of 3D, but it's like, the way Spider-Verse does it. Like the way Spider-Verse did it was they put a 2D mask on 3D models, and that's how they animated the movie. And it took so long because every 2D mask was hand drawn.
We know what they say, Lib. Anyone can wear the mask.
Okay.
But yeah, this movie kind of set a new standard for animation, even now to this day, and it really did inspire this new wave, and it's cool. It's interesting. Obviously if like Sony's gonna continue to run it into the ground, it's gonna get old, right? But right now it's still kind of fresh. This movie is great, and I'm looking forward to talking about it because I love Spider-Man. I love this movie.
Yeah, so let's talk cinema. So, Pat, let's surprise Pikachu face everybody. What'd you rate this movie?
Yeah, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, this movie's 5 stars. It's my favorite movie ever made. I love it. I've rewatched this movie countless times. I'm pretty sure it's the most logged movie on my letterbox.
Me too, actually.
It's good.
Yeah, for me, I also have it at 5 stars. I think it's probably the best animated movie ever made, and it's a really 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 good superhero movie. It's one of the best superhero movies. I think I prefer the Batman and the Dark Knight a little more than this, but still, it's the best Marvel movie.
I think so. I think this is the best Spider-Man movie,
Yeah, that too.
and this might be a.
I mean, calling it the best Marvel movie is also calling it the best Spider-Man movie.
I don't know if this is a bad take, but I think this is gonna continue to be the best Spider-Man movie. So at the time of recording, Spider-Verse 2 is not out yet. It was delayed to 2024, I
Yeah,
think, right?
it was supposed to come out October 8th. Got delayed, so that sucks.
Um, so Spider-Verse 2 is coming out, but I genuinely don't think they could top a Spider-Man story like this. Which is like it says something, right? Because what do you mean, Pat? Like, of course they can, and yeah, I guess they could try, but I think, especially with Miles as the lead, this is the perfect Spider-Man story. But it's also just the perfect like encapsulation of what Spider-Man means as a character to a lot of people, and I don't think we're never gonna hit gold twice like this, right? I'm sure
Yeah.
Spider-Verse 2 is gonna be great. I'm sure whatever, like I love No Way Home. I'm sure whatever comes out post No Way Home in the MCU is gonna be fine. Whatever new interpretation comes out later will be fine. But I think just as a Spider-Man story, this movie is perfect. And then
There's not
yeah,
really much you could do to improve the movie, and like the sequel, the trailers look pretty good. Like that's probably either gonna be a 4.5 or a 4-star movie, maybe a 5-star movie,
yeah,
both of
it,
them.
it might still be a 5 star movie, but I don't think it's gonna be this movie.
Like this star is like a 6-star movie. You're never gonna get it again.
From what we've seen of two, which I don't want to spend too much time on two because it's not out,
Yeah.
but from what we've seen on two, that one is going to be more like Spider Verse, the comic, whereas this is an origin story for Miles that just happens to also be a multiverse story. So I'm sure, like in that regard, like if they'll make something cool and fun to watch, and they're going to tell a compelling story, and that's going to be fine. But I think this movie is just peak Spider Man, what it means to be Spider Man. I'll read the plot synopsis, I guess. 'Cause, it's letterbox one. Short. This movie's very like to the point. It doesn't really like meander around too much. Miles Morales is juggling his life between being a high school student and being Spider-Man, a Spider-Man. When Wilson Kingpin Fisk uses a super collider, others from across the Spider-Verse are transported to this dimension.
That's the name of the second movie.
Yep, across the
There you
Spider-Verse.
go. This movie was directed by 3 separate people. You got Rodney Rothman, who's only directed this. You got Peter Ramsey, who directed Rise of the Guardians and the Halloween special for Monsters vs. Aliens. Do with that as you will. Bob Persichetti, I think is how you say it, who's also only directed this. And it's also worth noting that the 2 sequels will not be directed by any of these people. They're getting different directors to direct those movies. I think it's the same writers though, but different directors. This synopsis is like pretty vague. There's not a lot. There's not. I mean, there's not a lot you could say to describe this movie, but
Look. when you break down this movie, like in terms of just like a story, it's just we need to stop Kingpin. Kingpin is trying to rip open the multiverse to bring back his wife and son, right?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man needs to stop him, right? Like that's the story. In terms of like the superhero y part of it, that's it. It's very to the point. We're introduced to Kingpin immediately, and then we're thrown into the story immediately. You know, Miles gets the goober early. We're introduced to Peter B and Gwen early, and then the whole movie they are trying to get to Kingpin. Right? It's very simple.
The movie starts off with like this like really cool little montage of the main universe's Peter Parker just being Spider-Man, like just being like, yeah, I got cereal, I got music, I got a Christmas album, you know.
Yeah,
Like this this movie's
jokey.
really funny. This movie's really funny. Let's put
This
that
movie is
out there.
really funny.
This movie's really funny. They reference a lot of real world events for some reason. Remember that trend a couple years ago on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, where everyone would buy SpongeBob popsicles and rate how they look.
Yeah,
They reference that in this with Spider-Man popsicles.
yeah. They reference like Spider-Man 3. There's like the dance,
Yeah, the dance. They do the dance. They do
the 60s pointing meme at the end.
they do the scene in Spider-Man 2 where he holds back the train.
Yeah, there's a lot of references there for longtime fans of the character. There's also a lot new for new coming fans and also people who are just being introduced to Miles because this movie stars Miles Morales. This is more of it's his origin story in this universe, and it's also like a lot of people's first introduction to Miles because as much as I want to pretend that comic books are super popular and everybody reads comic books, it's not true. It's really not true. And outside of this movie, Miles has only really been in like cartoons. And like the cartoons since Spectacular have been more geared towards kids, right? So while there are generations that have grown up with Miles, it's always been as a side character in a Peter Parker show, right? This is the first time he's had the stage. When did PS4 come out? This after this, right?
Uh, I don't. I think it was after this.
I'm pretty sure it was after. It's the same year, but this was like earlier in the year, and then that was later. This movie and then the PS4 game really
They came out in the same
changed
year.
Miles. Yeah, they really changed Miles for the better. I think the problem with Miles pre this movie is he's just Black Peter Parker. He doesn't really have a lot unique about him in the comics before this movie.
The game came out first.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, the game came out in September and the movie was in December.
Well, like okay, but then the Miles Morales game, like the sequel, took a lot of inspiration from this movie as well, which
Yeah.
helps, I think. But yeah, so Miles didn't have a lot unique about him pre this movie, and then the MCU kind of happened, and the NCU took like aspects of Miles that like the few things that were unique about him, like Miles having a young parental figure that was like heavily involved in his life, having that the techie best friend in Genki. Peter took those when he went to the MCU because of contractual stuff. The MCU had to do different unique things with Peter because of the contract with Sony. So then Miles kind of gets shafted, right? Because he has nothing now. He was already just Peter's shadow, and then MCU Peter stole what was unique about him until this movie came out, and they gave him a bunch of stuff. They really enriched his culture. They made him more grounded to his culture, and they also added a bunch of stuff like his passion for art and music, and they made Miles a character that I'd love to follow, and it was so good for him. I think
Yeah, I think this movie really completely rebooted Miles like as a character, and I'm sure it translated in the comics too.
it did. Miles did evolve a lot in typical like movie fashion. Like Robert Downey Jr. influenced Iron Man in the comics a lot too. Same with like Chris Evans and like we already all know what Tom Holland did for like the games, for example, with the new face.
Uh,
So like movies like setting trends for the comics isn't new, but I think Miles definitely, aside from maybe RDJ as Tony, Miles got the best treatment.
yeah, like like in the games, I think actually prefer Miles in the games, well, just because it's a video game, so he gets a lot more characterization. Also, because you play as him in the second one. But in the games, they really go heavy on like the whole thing that Miles likes making his own music. Because there's a side quest of him mixing beats, and then you got his relationship with his uncle, which is kind of explored a lot in Into the Spider-Verse. But spoiler alert, he gets killed off.
Yeah, it's fleshed out more in the game just because he's around more, right? Unlike the comics, where their relationship sucks, just straight up, it's bad. But yeah, I think Miles is great here. The unfortunate thing is he might be the protagonist, but he shares the screen with five
Four.
five other Spider-Men.
But wait. Okay, so we got the alternate universe Peter B. Parker, and then you got Penny Parker, is the anime one with the mech, and then you got Spider Ham, Peter Porker, who was a pig a spider that was bitten by a radioactive pig. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a Looney Tunes reference. He's very funny, voiced by John Mulaney.
Yeah, John Mulaney's in this movie.
Then there's Spider-Man Noir,
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage. He's great. I love him.
Nick Cage's second appearance on this podcast. Check out our
Yeah.
episode on the unbearable weight of massive talent.
And then Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen Stacy, Haley Steinfeld.
So he shares the screen with five other Spider-Men, Spider people. So he does like miss out on some screen time because obviously it's a multiverse movie and you need to also to establish Kingpin. You need to give Kingpin his screen time. Kingpin gets a fair bit of characterization for how little in the movie he's in, surprisingly. But I think what Miles is given is really really good. And considering he's gonna be the protagonist going forward, he's gonna get the rest of the. I'm gonna call it a trilogy, but it's not really a trilogy.
Well, it is a trilogy.
Yeah, but like the second movie is part one, part two. So like, is that really a trilogy? Like, no.
I mean, they're not part one and part two anymore.
True, but they were supposed to be.
They were supposed to be. It was also supposed to be just one movie.
Yeah, but like Miles is gonna get two more movies to kind of grow and develop, while also sharing the screen again with even more Spider people. So I'm sure Miles will continue to grow and expand and get better. But what we're given is some of the best. It is the best Miles has ever been, and it is some of the best Spider-Man moments in general, I think. And that's coming from a huge Peter Parker shill. Peter Parker is my boy. We'll talk about Peter B. Parker in this movie and why I think he's fucking fantastic in a bit. I love Peter, but Miles here is just phenomenal. He's great. I love him. I can't wait to see more of him in Across and whatever the third one's gonna be called.
Beyond.
Okay.
Yeah, they really did a good thing here with the story itself. Like, but besides like him being surrounded by other Spider people, and they're like kind of like bringing him down a lot. But the story is kind of a coming of age story. Like if you break it down to its main point, it's a coming of age story. This Miles is trying to find his place in this universe that he just found out existed, because everybody thought there's only one Spider-Man,
and he's kind of like forced into it, right? He's thrown into the action. When he meets his universe's Peter at the beginning of the movie, and Peter tells him like, because Miles is afraid, obviously, like any kid would be. He's afraid. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't live this life. And Peter tells him like, I don't really think you have a choice, kid, right? And that's kind of Miles' struggle throughout the whole movie, where he wants to find his place in this world, and he wants to help, right? But he's afraid.
Yeah, he's only been Spider-Man for less than a day. He got bitten last night, right? And then Peter's already giving him pressure. And then you got the day after, you got 5 other Spider people coming and giving him pressure. This movie only spans like 2 or 3 days. He's only Spider-Man for 3 days, and he has to figure everything out pretty much in a rush. But at least he's not alone.
He's not alone, and he picks up his pieces real well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual how the movie like portrays all of this, because we don't get everything all in one shot. The beginning of the movie is kind of slow, honestly, for a short movie. Actually, the beginning really is really like characterizing Miles and his family, which is really important, because his uncle Aaron is a very major character in this film because he's the Prowler. So you gotta establish that relationship that they have, and you could see that Miles is not really open with his parents, especially his father. He's very closed off with his father, but he's very open with his uncle, and he really, really trusts his uncle, and he thinks his uncle always does the right thing, you know. So when it's finally revealed later on that he's the Prowler, it's a really cool scene. Like it's dark and you got like the Prowler coming in. He takes the mask off and then Miles is like visibly terrified, even though he's invisible and he's wearing his mask. He looks terrified because it's like his whole world just got shattered.
Yeah, like his whole world has already like changed because of the spider bite, right? And but then like his one like piece, his one piece in life was being able to like confide into his uncle, and then he can't do that anymore because now his uncle is the enemy. And then eventually, he gets Uncle Ben.
He gets uncled.
That also affects things, right? It can't be a Spider-Man origin story without tragedy in some kind. They make a joke about it in the movie, whereas like, I think it's John Mulaney makes a joke. He's like, I don't know, it's Spider-Man Noir. He's like, whoa, that's a real cool origin story.
He's like that's sub origin story.
This is a pretty hardcore origin story.
Yeah, it's great. But like, you can't become Spider-Man without tragedy, right? And Miles unfortunately got the double whammy. He lost Peter and then his uncle. Also, his dad like wants to kill him.
Yeah,
It just sucks to be Miles in this movie.
yeah. The second act is where this movie is peak perfection. Like it's so fucking good.
Yeah, I think the first act is really good. The second act is perfect.
The best part.
It is perfect. And the third act is like fine. It's the weakest part of the movie. In my opinion, it's the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not bad by any means. It's definitely better than like a lot of MCU third acts and a lot of superhero third acts in general. But I think the third act definitely like just kind of feels generic compared to the rest of the movie, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we have to talk about before we get there.
Yeah, I mean, you could lead it. I mean, it's your favorite movie.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to talk too much, and I want to give you a chance to speak as
Hey,
well.
I talked a lot last episode. It's your chance now.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But I mean, we could start like somewhere we could both talk about is the music in this movie.
Oh fuck.
Music is a big part of Miles as a character. There's a scene, like maybe like a third of the way through, where he and Miles and Peter are breaking into Kingpin's office to
Yeah.
steal like the plans, basically, right? And Miles has like just gotten bitten. He's still trying to get used to his powers. And Peter tells him like to unstick to like calm himself down, do whatever makes you calm, and he starts singing "Sunflower" by Post Malone. And like you already know before that Miles is very like music is very part of him as a person. But you get that sense throughout the entire movie. The soundtrack really plays an important role here, and man, is it great!
Like the first scene we see Miles, he's singing along to Sunflower. And like it's a really realistic scene too because you could hear if you listen closely. He doesn't actually know the lyrics.
Yeah,
he
he's like
just
coming
kind of
along to certain
mumbles.
parts, which is very like relatable, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
everyone does that. Who doesn't do that?
yeah, everyone does it. Like you might love a song, but you don't know the lyrics, and you'll try to sing around. You'll try to sing along. Probably maybe you can't keep up, so you'll start humming. Like it makes Miles very relatable, and I think that's important for Spider-Man because I already made the joke before, but and that's like the theme of the movie is that anyone can wear the mask. That was Stan Lee's original intention when he created Peter Parker, and it's like the mask exists because who's under the mask doesn't matter. It's what they do while they're wearing it, right?
Yeah.
It could be anybody. But Miles puts some of that uniqueness in him with his music and his art, and it makes him interesting to follow.
And speaking of Stan Lee, he actually does make a cameo in this movie. This is one of his one of the
One of his
few where
last
he's
ones.
like yeah, not like yeah, it is one of his last ones, but he actually speaks a lot more in this than in some other movies. He has like three
Yeah,
lines. What a
good. He
guy!
deserves it. He deserves it.
I think his last cameo was in Venom, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
That was his last, or was it in no, yeah, it was Venom.
it's Venom.
His
Venom.
last video game cameo was in the Spider-Man game. Because I don't think he was in the Avengers game.
He's not. No,
He was even still alive when that came out, but like he's just not in
was
it.
he?
Yeah, I think so. Wait, hold on. I have the
Was
game.
in Avengers like 2019?
That's it. Well, didn't he die in like late 2019? He died in
Yeah,
like
but I thought he died pre Infinity War, didn't he? That game is definitely post Infinity War.
oh, he died in 2018. Holy crap! Never mind.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it was Venom, and he was a guy on the street, and he almost got hit by a car.
I love that cameo because he talks to Venom, and then Venom's like, "Wait, who the hell is that? Can I eat him?" He's like, "No, no, 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 no eating. It's Stanley."
In this one, like Miles buys a Spider-Man cosplay thing for kids, like a Halloween costume, and he's like, "What if it doesn't fit? Don't worry, it always fits."
Eventually, and then it cuts to Alsail's final side.
Yeah, there are no returns ever. It says.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, he's a. I think my favorite Stan Lee cameo has to be in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
That one's really good. I like his cameo in Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Oh yeah, yeah, that
He's
was
a
pretty good too.
janitor.
Yeah. His cameo in I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy, whichever where he's talking to the Watchers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's just like, whoa, okay. I guess he's a multi-dimensional being. That's what he was. Like he like in the MCU canon, he wasn't a Watcher, but he worked for them, you know.
Yeah. It's weird to think about how we haven't had one. Like I didn't really think about it until just now. It's been a while since Venom.
Yeah, we haven't had a like in the MCU, there hasn't been a Stanley cameo since
2018 or
2018.
19.
So that would be Thor Ragnarok, right?
And you'd think, well, that's not that long, right? It's only 3 years, but there's like 10 movies have come out each year, right? So
Yeah, I
it's been
mean
a long
it's
time.
pretty crazy that like he's not in Endgame, but there's a I wish because in at the beginning of Captain Marvel, they changed the MCU the logo fanfare thing. They made it like a Stan Lee tribute, which was really cool. It was really awesome. It was the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
But they should have saved that tribute for Endgame, I think. But I like it makes sense that they put it in Captain Marvel because it was right after his death.
They
So
could have used it again for Endgame, I guess.
yeah, it would have been cool. But Endgame's Marvel Studios intro fanfare thingy, it didn't use the music, and it was more of a like a suspense thing, kind of like how it was used in No Way Home. As much as all of us would have loved for them to do the '60s Spider-Man theme like they did in Homecoming, to do that again in No Way Home, but instead they use it as like a suspenseful
They
thing.
should have fucking. I don't want to get into the No Way Home talk, but they really should have used that for like the swing of the three Spider-Man.
Yeah, we mentioned this. Check out our Spider-Man No Way Home review where we talk about all the things they should have done in that movie.
I was watching that clip today actually, and it just sounds weird with Tom's theme. Like it should have been an amalgamation of the three, or it should have just been the '60s theme that they used for Homecoming.
Yeah, no, it should just maybe it will be that in the re-release. We're going to watch it on
I hope
Thursday.
I hope I'll scream. I'll cry.
They won't, but let's
But
hope
yeah,
they do.
it's not gonna happen, but let's hope.
Like they're adding in the elevator scene. Wow, what a funny scene.
Yeah,
I hope nothing bad happens after that scene.
I can't wait for my score to go down after watching this release.
Look guys, they're re-releasing it. We're going to watch it on Thursday, and next episode we'll briefly talk about it probably because we'll either be very disappointed or exactly the same. I doubt the 11 minutes will make the movie better.
You know, it's either gonna not change anything or it's gonna make it worse.
And my
It's just
money's
the-
on making it worse, honestly.
I mean, everyone knows how I feel about MCU jokes, and I feel like that elevator scene is just an MCU joke that was probably cut for a reason. So.
John Watts, you're a great guy, but why'd you have to add those scenes back? They're giving Tom Holland's brother the spotlight.
Yeah, and as long as they give Toby and Andrew some scenes, I'll be happy. But
there's I think the scene where they're at the I was about to call it the Eiffel Tower.
Captain
The-
America monument.
The Captain America monument. Like that scene where they're just shooting the shit, it's been extended. So
Yeah, but I hope it's not just that.
no, it can't be. It's not 10 minutes of that plus an elevator scene. That's not what it is.
No, but I mean for Toby and Andrew, I hope it's not just that.
Oh, yeah, there's probably going to be more. I mean, I feel like the added shots are going to be in the first act because the first act was really rushed. because they
Also
were
the worst part of the movie. So.
yeah, because they were trying to just bring in the other two Peters as soon as they could to make the movie kick off. But I'm guessing the most of the added scenes are going to be at the beginning. We're getting off track here. We're not even talking about Spider-Verse anymore.
Yeah, we're talking about Spider-Man. It's not
But
too.
we reviewed this movie already.
True. Well, maybe we'll have more to say next time. But yeah, let's go back to Spider-Verse. Since we're here for a brief second, the What's Up Danger scene, the Leap of Faith scene, peak fiction. It is the best scene in any movie I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
It's such a good fucking scene. And like, I'm not to sound like a broken record here, to sound like a textbook movie dude, bro, but did you know that Miles is animated at a lower frame rate than every other character in this movie? Every character is animated at 24 frames per second, while he's animated at 15. That's just because like they're trying to, you know, like give like it's like a visual metaphor of like he doesn't really feel like he belongs. He feels very out of place. But it's up until that scene, the leap of faith scene, where he's animated at 24 frames per second like everybody else, because like that's his breakthrough scene. That's the scene where he in the movie where he finds his place and he knows what he has to do.
Yeah, he becomes a Spider-Man then.
That's his swing that makes him like, okay, it's time to kill the Kingpin. Well, kill. Well, he does. Does he die?
No, he doesn't. He's arrested.
Yeah. He's arrested. That's right. I forgot.
Spider-Man doesn't kill people.
Sure.
Except Morlan, who's the main villain of Spider-Verse, the comic, and then also the next movie.
And also,
But Spider-Man doesn't kill
every
people.
also every enemy he throws off a roof. Also, every enemy he throws in front of a train.
There's a detail at PS4. They're like, if you throw an enemy off a building, if you go find them, they're like webs to the building.
Really?
Yeah. they disappear after a couple of seconds, but like at the very least, we know he doesn't kill them.
So like if he launches someone off a building, they'll be webbed to the floor.
Yeah, basically. Like if you could like find them in time before they despawn, you can find their webbed up body.
Oh, that's hilarious. Maybe on the PC version, if you turn the detail setting to the lowest setting, they won't do that to save memory. So maybe they will actually die. But yeah, Spider-Man doesn't die. Spider-Man doesn't die.
Spider-Man doesn't kill.
Spider-Man doesn't kill. That's right. He doesn't make people die.
He doesn't make people die.
But it's really noticeable, the frame rate change once you know that, and then you watch a scene from early in the movie, and then you watch either the final fight or the leap of faith scene. It's really noticeable.
But it's a really, really good visual metaphor for Miles, especially like compared to the other Spider people who we haven't talked about too much. We're gonna get there. Yeah, Miles is great. We can move on from talking about him for now anyway, because eventually we're gonna loop back to the leap of faith. But the second Spider-Man we're introduced to is Peter Parker. Yep.
No,
it's
not
just
that
Peter
one.
Parker. It's just not. There's nothing wrong with this one. He's not old and fat and depressed. It's just Peter Parker.
He's not obsessed with hamburgers and calls the MacGuffin a goober.
Yeah, we're introduced to like ideal perfect society Peter first, but he dies, right? And like he's a cool contrast to the Peter we're introduced to later, Peter B. Parker. Whereas like the main Peter, I'm gonna call him Dead Peter instead. It's funnier.
Dead
Peter is like the perfect Spider. Like everything went right for him in life, you know.
That was Chris Pine was that Peter Parker.
Chris Pine was that one. He's voiced Chris Pine. Everything went perfect in his life. You know, he got married. He's happy. He made a bunch of money doing like saving people. He didn't break his back. He's perfect Peter, and he dies. Kingpin murders him in front of Miles.
Yeah.
So then once Miles breaks the goober that Dead Peter gives him, we go back to Peter's grave, and we're introduced to Peter B. Parker. And this is a big statement coming from me, but this is the best interpretation of Peter Parker ever.
Wow.
And it's weird because this Peter Parker, well, okay, aside from like comic books aside, right? And aside from like Spectacular Spider-Man and like 90s animated series, like strictly movies, this is the best adaptation of Peter Parker ever in a movie.
Strictly movies. Okay, we only have like a few.
Like there's a few, but like they all have multiple movies, right? It's like
Yeah, because look,
eh,
I mean, look, Tobey Maguire was directed by a guy who directs horror movies, and and then Andrew Garfield was directed by an idiot, and then uh, Tom Holland was
directed by an idiot.
directed by an idiot. Yeah, uh, and then for like animated, you got six of them are in this movie,
Yeah.
and then you got I don't know the Japanese Spider-Man.
Yeah, true. Okay, but what I mean is like this version of Peter Parker, it is some of the best Peter Parker we've seen on the silver screen, right?
Yeah.
This is implied to be like an alternate universe Tobey Maguire who got old. That's the implication here. This Peter is old, beaten up, his back is fucked. MJ left him. He lost like all his money. Aunt May's dead. Like he's just like in the mud when we're introduced to him. You know, where Miles' whole shtick is him trying to find his place in the world and trying to find out who he is, both as a person and as a Spider-Man. Peter B in this movie knows he had his place. He knows who he is, but he lost his way. He doesn't enjoy being Spider-Man anymore. He doesn't enjoy saving people anymore. He feels like the world owes him for everything he's done because he's so beaten and destroyed when we're introduced to him. And I think it's really interesting having him be Miles's mentor because Miles kind of like softens him up and smooths out his edges. And then he's also like giving Miles like genuinely useful information on how to be Spider-Man, despite him coming from a negative place and being kind of bitchy, especially when we're introduced to each other, or when they're introduced to each other. I think they're good for each other, you know. Like they both help ground the other in a way that wouldn't be possible if they weren't together. Like if you take Miles out of this movie, which is a weird statement to make, or you replaced Miles with I don't know, like Tom Holland. I don't think I think Peter B gets worse because Peter B needs Miles in this movie, and then Miles needs Peter B for them to both reach that point in the end, right? Where we get the "What's Up, Danger" leap of faith scene, and we get the ending scene where Miles tells Peter that he needs to go home. He needs to make things right because he's able to. He's capable to make things right. He's afraid, but it's all just a leap of faith, just like he tells Miles earlier in the movie, right? It's great. I love this version of Peter. I think getting to see him kind of revert back to being the Spider-Man he knows he can be and who we all know and love is great to watch. Of the five, he's definitely the second most developed. You could even argue he's the most developed out of the five, especially compared to like Spider-Ham and
Penny.
Penny. Yeah, he's great. I think his dynamic with Miles and Gwen is really fun. There's a scene where he's introduced to dead Peter's Aunt May, and they have a cute moment where like Aunt May's like, "Are you wearing sweatpants? Did you get thicker?" It's really funny. He's really like angsty kind of with like dead Peter's spider cave and all the gadgets. It's a really cool interpretation. We don't really get to see because like Spider-Man is pushed to the ground a lot, right? In every interpretation of Spider-Man, Spider-Man is always kicked down, and his shtick is getting back up. Dead Peter even says this at the start. But this is kind of like a Spider-Man who got kicked down and stayed down for a long time. And it's cool. I like him. I love Peter B a lot. I love him so much that I hope he's not in the next movie because he gets his arc resolved here. And I want him to be happy. He deserves it.
I'm pretty sure there's only gonna be three Spider people in that movie. Is gonna be
No, we already have a
Miles,
bunch
Gwen,
confirmed.
and oh, there's a bunch.
Yeah, Spider Punk and Cyborg Spider Man and Scarlet Spider is confirmed.
Oh,
Who's a clone of Peter? I think he can like. If we're getting Ben Riley, we don't need a Peter Parker. I don't think. I think we could do something different now. But there is gonna be some kind of Peter Parker, I'm sure.
I don't
I just
know.
hope it's not this one because this one gets a conclusion, and that's a thing Marvel is too afraid to do is give Peter Parker a fucking conclusion.
Oh, but then like you got some the other spider people that you got. Uh, One of them is Spider Ham. Let's just go to him quickly because he's the fastest one because he gets no characterization.
Yeah,
He
he's just a Looney Tunes parody.
Yeah, he's just a cartoon character. Like when at the end when he goes back home, he gives Miles a hammer and he's like, "Here, you can have this hammer. It'll fit in your pocket." Like it's a funny. Like his jokes are funny.
Yeah, I think he's funny, but you could remove him from the movie and it doesn't really change
Yeah, it
much.
changes nothing. He doesn't even like the parts of the movie where all of the spider people are telling Miles who died in their universe. He doesn't say like he doesn't have someone who died probably because everyone in its universe is an animal. Like but like, I think the funniest joke in the movie for me personally is when Genki sees all of them and then he goes, "Do animals talk in this universe? Because I don't want to weird them out." I really like that joke
Which
for some
it,
reason.
it is a good joke, right? And like I like the jokes he makes. And like when he says "That's all, folks," and then the punchline is he allowed to say that? Haha. I like I like Spider Ham, but he's also like the least interesting. I think of the Spider people. He's definitely like able to be removed from this movie, and nothing really changes. The same can kind of be said with the other two not Gwen Spider people. Like I feel like Spider Noir and Spider Man Noir and Penny Parker kind of get the shaft.
Oh, Penny has to be there so she can remake the Goober.
Yeah,
But that's all she does.
Penny has a moment. Like she has her moment with the Goober, and she also has a moment later when her spider dies. But like aside from that, like she doesn't really grow or change the character. And same for like Spider Man Noir. He's kind of just there to make jokes about the fact that he's black and white, or other people making jokes about the fact that he comes from like Nazi Germany and he's in black and white. But like they're cool. I like Nick Cage a lot as the character. I think he's fun. I think Penny's fun. I just like of the five, of the six. Sorry, Peter B, Spider Gwen, and Miles are like the focus here, where the others are kind of pushed to the side. They're just there to fight bad guys and make jokes. But on to Gwen. Gwen is here. Gwen was already popular before this movie came out, just because the design is cool and people be weird on the internet, right? This movie made Gwen more popular. It definitely introduced Spider Gwen to a lot more people. I like her. I like her in this movie. I kind of wish they did more though with the fact that she's Gwen Stacy, especially when interacting with Peter B. Well, I guess like Peter B is older, so he's like over it, I guess, and he has to deal with his broken marriage, so he doesn't really have the mental capacity to deal with the fact that Gwen Stacy's alive and talking to him again, right? But I like how the Spider Verse comic kind of handles it more, where like Peter is not broken up when he meets Spider Gwen, but he's very like over her shoulder for a lot of the beginning of that story until like they have a talk, because Peter doesn't want to lose her again, right? And I feel like that could have been maybe woven into the story a little bit more here. Maybe they could do that in the sequel, because like we'll probably be introduced to either. I mean, Ben Riley's in it. He could probably maybe he'll be younger. He'll be a younger Peter clone, right? So like the Gwen death will be more like recent for him. He probably may still be broken up about it. Maybe a younger Peter Parker will just be in the movie. We don't really know yet, but I kind of wish they had played more on the fact that Gwen Stacy is just alive now, and no one really reacts. Same for her. Like she mentions the fact that her Peter Parker's dead, but she doesn't really react much when she meets Peter B. Which is okay. Like they don't have to be depressed around each other, right? But I wish they would have made some kind of effort to address that. Aside from like one line, I think Spider Gwen makes when they're infiltrating the party at the end, third act. Gwen mentioned like kind of references the fact that like she knows what it's like to be reunited with a lost love, but like we don't have time for this right now. We have to move on, and she's obviously referencing Peter. But I don't know. I wish they did more there.
You got that one scene where Peter B sees Gwen for the first time, and then he's like, "Oh, you two knew each other. Very cool."
I like that joke. Like it's fun, but like he doesn't. I wish he reacted more. You know.
Yeah. Maybe maybe in that universe they weren't very close, but I don't
Maybe, or
know.
maybe in that universe she didn't die, because like I mentioned earlier, it's implied that this is supposed to be an alternate universe Tobey Maguire, right?
Yes, maybe in that universe she didn't die.
Yeah, in the Tobey movies, she's around, right? Like she's in Spider-Man 3. And she doesn't die. Maybe she never dies in that universe.
I don't
But
know.
if that's the case, it's kind of a missed opportunity, I think. But we'll never know because it ultimately doesn't matter. But just some food for thought.
What's interesting is Spider-Gwen's actually getting a spin-off movie apparently. No one knows when it's coming out, but it's been confirmed that that's in the works, but is it coming out after the two sequels? Is it coming out in between? We don't know. We don't even know if it's still a thing. It was announced like after Spider-Verse came out, and that's all we've heard about it.
Or if it's even if it even comes out at all, right?
Yeah, if it comes out at all. But there's a letterbox listing for it.
Yeah, she's back in Spider Verse too. She's gonna be working with Miles, so we'll see more of her. Maybe she'll get more development there, but we'll see.
Apparently that movie's being directed by Lauren Montgomery. She directed the Batman Year One movie and some other
Okay,
Superman Doomsday.
those are good. I like those.
She's done a bunch more, but I'm not gonna name them all. But they're all
Yeah, yeah.
like they're all DC movies. This is her first Marvel one.
Yeah. I think this is like the first kind of negative thing I have to say about a movie is I feel like the roster of Spider people in this movie is kind of underutilized. It really is the Miles, Peter, and Gwen show for the most part, and even then, Gwen gets less to do than Peter and Miles. The other three, Ham, Noir, and Penny, Evangelion, Spider Man, don't really get much to do here, which is kind of unfortunate. The sequels are supposed to have an even bigger cast, so let's hope they find some kind of way to to write these characters in without feeling shafted. We'll see.
Marvel's not good at doing movies with a big cast because even No Way Home had a big problem about who to focus on and when.
To give the sequel credit, we don't need to introduce Miles in the sequel
Yeah, or Gwen.
or Gwen, and you could also just like for the other like 80 million Spider people, you could just like give them like title cards and like they don't really matter unless they're the focus of the story.
Yeah, so you don't have to explain Cyborg Spider-Man. He's a cyborg. There you go. They could
Yeah,
give him a
you don't
title
need
card.
to tell me the whole Clone Saga when you're introducing Ben Riley. But we'll see. We'll see how they handle it. It is a two-parter. Maybe it's a two-parter for a reason. There's so many characters, right?
The first part is just character introductions, and the second part's the actual movie.
But in the second act, we're given this beautiful scene of all the Spider-Man, it's the Spider Brigade, abandoning Miles because the whole
Spider
thing is they're
Squad.
all from the Spider Squad. They're all from alternate universes, right? And they need to get the collider that Kingpin built like back online so they could go home. Whereas Kingpin wants to turn it on to bring his wife and son back, right? But for them to go home, someone needs to stay behind. And the longer they stay in this universe, they'll die. Eventually, their cells will just like glitch out and kill them. So Miles just isn't ready, right? Like he's not capable. They keep testing him, and he keeps like failing those tests. So Peter B decides that he'll be the one to stay, and they like tie up Miles and leave, right? And we get the scene with Miles's dad, where his dad like they actually have a heart to heart for the first time in the movie. Because we didn't really talk about Miles's dad a lot, or his family. Because I mean, his dad is important, his mom less so. His dad just wants to reconnect with his son. The whole movie, his son kind of feels distant, and it's that dynamic that's been done millions of times. After Miles talks to his dad, and they kind of like come to some kind of common ground, some kind of understanding. That's when we get the best scene in the movie, the leap of faith.
The Leap of Faith.
It's real good.
I mean, it's a great song. It's a great scene. It's really well animated. Everything about that scene is great.
That's the moment Miles becomes Spider-Man, right? Because like the whole movie, like he's bit by the spider, but he's still Miles Morales. And in that moment, after he talks to his father, after he like accepts Uncle Aaron's death, and he kind of accepts that like he needs to be the one to do this because he's from here, right? He's already home. He needs to get everyone else home. And he talks to his dad, and he has that moment where like I can do it. I can be Spider-Man. I could use my powers at will now. Because the thing that was holding him back was himself. He was unsure of himself. He didn't think he could do it, but he owns up to it in the end, and it's really cool. You get What's Up Danger playing. You get to see Miles redo things he tried doing at the beginning of the movie. They jump off a building that was like too tall for at the start. He does it here. He swings and jumps around on cars. You can't do that at the beginning. And it's really good. It's so good. Like I can't even talk about it. Just go watch it. So watch this movie. Watch that scene if you've already seen the movie. Just go do it right now. It's in order.
You must.
It's such a good moment, I think. And that's the moment where Miles is animated at the same frame rate as everybody else.
Right after that, the third act just starts. We cut to all those spider people. They're at the thing, like the like party that Kingpin is hosting. I don't know I don't even know why they're doing that. Why are they doing that? Oh, because Peter died.
Yeah, because Peter died, and Kingpin is trying to like
Profit off of it.
profit off it as if he wasn't the one who killed him.
Yeah, and then we got all the waiters. They're wearing Spider-Man masks, so it's like it can't be that easy to get in. It's that easy.
It's like it's that easy.
It's the meme. It's the meme, guys. There's so many memes in this movie. A lot of memes. It's in poor taste, but it can't be that easy. And you got this cute scene where Peter B. Parker is talking to that universe's version of MJ.
It's great.
Pretty funny.
He's like using bread as a metaphor for how he feels about his version of MJ. It's great.
But then they make it to Super Collider, and this is where the final fight happens. Oh wait, we didn't talk about the Green Goblin fight at the beginning. I just want to mention that because I've never seen Green Goblin look like that. I bet that's what he should look like.
That's how he looks like in the Ultimate Comics, which is where Miles is from.
That Green Goblin fight's pretty cool.
It is. I like the jokes Peter makes during that fight too. I think this movie.
Brooklyn's not zoned for that.
Yeah, you can't just open a black hole in the middle of New York. Brooklyn's not zoned for that. I think this movie is the first time in a Spider-Man movie where they handled the quips during fights thing well. Like, I think when the MCU does it, it's kind of cringe, and then like Toby just doesn't do it much. And when he does do it, like Toby's delivery is kind of dry, so it doesn't really feel like he's making a joke. It feels like he's just saying something.
Oh, we could go for look at little Goblin Jr.
You're gonna cry.
we could go on for hours with the Toby memes.
Toby's quips don't really feel like Spider-Man quips. And then Andrew, like in the first movie, just doesn't do it. And in the second movie, he kind of does it, but it doesn't really feel like all the way. It's like it's a step, but they don't go all the way with it. This movie actually like goes all the way with the quips in the middle of fights, and it's great. It's just so good. Even the villains make quips during the fights. It's great.
There's some parts where like even the other Spider-Man get to have quips. There's one that the Spider-Ham says like to when he's fighting Scorpion. He goes, "What? You got a problem with cartoons?"
Shit out of him. It's great.
It's a great like funny movie. God, this movie's so funny.
There's a great joke where like earlier in the movie, before Doc Ock like reveals herself, Peter's like, "Oh, who are you, by the way?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm Dr. Otto Octavius, but my friends call me Liv." And then like at May's house,
oh great,
they all like turn around to see Doc Ock, and then at May's like Liv.
Then she's like, "Oh great,
May,
it's Liv.
Who are you hanging out with?" We have to talk, May.
In this universe, like May made fucking Miles's web shooters. Maybe May worked at Oscorp for a while. Maybe she worked there. Maybe she worked at Oscorp, and maybe she's friends with, because she said only her friends call her Liv. So when she's like, "Oh great, it's Liv," they're friends.
Yeah. Well, they were friends. There's some drama there. So, oh great, it's Liv. I want to know all about that drama. Give me a movie that's just Aunt May.
I love that whole fight because the whole time Aunt May is like worrying about her house. She's like, I told you to take it outside.
I love it. Like Miles is just standing there for the most part, and then Peter's like, dude, you gotta go. like you can't stay here.
Dude, you gotta get out of here. It's a really, all the fight scenes are really funny. Except the one where Peter Parker fucking dies.
Yeah, that was not funny.
That one was not funny.
In fact, him being funny probably would have saved his life. He makes no jokes.
But wait, no, he does. He does when Kingpin takes his mask off. He's like, "Oh, that's a no."
Yeah, but like instead of giving Kingpin shit, you should have made a joke. Maybe Kingpin would have killed him.
Kingpin would have been like, "Oh, this guy's pretty funny.
This guy's pretty funny. Let's keep him around."
No, you know what could have kept him alive, honestly, because before he dies, he says, like Kingpin's about to kill him, and then he goes, "Wait, don't you want to know what I saw in there?" If he just left it at that, Kingpin might have just taken him hostage, but like he ruined it because later he said, "There's nothing there, man. This won't work. You can't do it. You can't bring them back." That's what got him to like, ugh, and then he's
Yeah.
dead. But if he just would have left it at, don't you want to see what don't you want to know what I saw in there?
It's kind of brutal too. Like Kingpin destroys him. Like full force slams him in the chest. His body was a pancake.
Which is weird because he does the exact same thing to Miles in the final fight, and Miles is fine, even though Miles is canonically weaker.
We made a joke about this while we were watching the movie, but every time Kingpin touches Miles during that fight, like the Miles is dead.
Yeah, Miles is a lot weaker than Spider-Man. Also, just in general, Miles doesn't work out. He's only been Spider-Man for a couple days. He hasn't gotten any practice swinging at all.
Yeah,
So
like he
like
gets a durability bonus from like the spider bite, but like you could not tell me 2-day Spider-Man Miles has better durability than like 20-year Peter Parker, you know.
yeah, like come on. But no, he survives. Another thing, Miles doesn't really use his venom a lot in this movie. He uses it to get out of the rope when everybody tied him off. Like he tied him off, tied him up. He uses the venom to get out of it, and he uses his venom in the final fight versus Kingpin. But that's it. And for some reason also, before he even uses venom at all, because they call it electricity the whole movie, but for some reason Peter's like, if you think you're ready, then venom punch me and take the goober. Why did he say it like that? Why did he call it venom?
I don't know. I think Peter gave it that name. He just made it up.
Well, he just made it up on the spot right there
Yeah.
during that serious moment where he's trying to
Yeah.
get Miles to man up.
I mean, maybe there's like a cut scene where Miles names it. Who knows? Like,
There's
but
a
yeah.
a cut scene.
a cut scene.
A cut scene. But yeah, you that final fight is the worst fight in the movie, but
Yeah,
it's
agree.
still good. It's still good.
Yeah, it's that's what we say. Like the third act isn't bad. It's just the weakest part of the
It's
movie.
just the third act is just that fight and then the aftermath. That's all it
The
is.
aftermath is great, but I think the problem with the fight is I think the from the point where the collider is turned on to Miles beating Kingpin, I think visually it's a bit too much.
Yeah, so like here's a reveal. I don't think I've said it on this podcast yet, but I'm colorblind, and it's been getting worse every few years. But the first time I watched this movie, I had no idea what was going on in that scene. Like I couldn't even. That's why I gave the movie 4 stars the first time I watched it, because I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't see anything. It was very crazy. I felt like I was getting dizzy watching the movie. But it was only once I got my color correcting glasses that I was finally able to like actually see what the scene was like, and wow, it's a visual overload, I have to say.
Yeah, like the whole movie has like a lot going on visually, but that scene I think is too much. It's too much flying in the background. There's too many colors clashing. It's a lot, and I think it's too much.
But the ending part where it's just him and Kingpin and they're on the side of a building and they're fighting. The background is kind of just like black and like very muted tones, like a really dark blue and black, and that looks really cool.
Aside from like it being visually like all over the place, I also just don't like the Kingpin fight too much because that's not believable.
Yeah, like we said, he Miles would die first punch.
Yeah, basically, like Miles like two shots him.
It's a fight that needed to happen because Miles is the main character and he needs to have his climactic battle with the big bad. But I feel like that part was rushed and like maybe the people who made the movie forgot that that was supposed to be in the movie. That's what it felt like. But I don't know. It's just that fight has a weird vibe to it. Like it doesn't feel as climactic as the fight that happened before it.
Yeah,
Because the before that they fight Kingpin, Scorpion, and Tombstone all at the same time, which is pretty. It was a pretty cool fight. Speaking of Tombstone, underutilized. He doesn't even speak in this. Well, he does actually. He says one line.
the villains in this movie in general are kind of underutilized. Like aside from Kingpin, they're all just kind of there.
They don't really use like, crazy villains either. I mean, like Scorpion's a pretty crazy villain, but they don't use any of Spider-Man's big ones, except for like the Green Goblin fight near the beginning.
Yeah, and like Doc Ock and Kingpin, I guess.
But
But
it's not the same Doc Ock, right? And like, and she gets defeated really early on.
true. Yeah, I don't know. I think the villains here are kind of weak. That's also why I don't think the last act is particularly good because they're being like the end goal, the focus is kind of weak. But in the third act, we do get that really good scene with Miles and Peter B that I think makes the third act like good.
Yeah, the scene we were talking about earlier where he tells Peter it's a leap of faith, and then like he drops and he's like, "Huh, not bad, kid." You know the meme, guys. Remember the memes? I love memes. But one of the best parts of the movie, like aside from the leap of faith scene, I also really like the scene after the fight where Miles talks on the phone with his dad.
Oh yeah, same. I love everything after the Kingpin fight. I think it's really good.
Yeah, like the like when he goes up to hug him, but like it feels weird for the dad because it's just Spider-Man to him.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that in the next movie his father finds out that Miles is Spider-Man because that would introduce some cool like character moments and maybe there'd be the conflict there because Jefferson doesn't like Spider-Man, doesn't approve of his methods. It would be pretty cool if they did that. I don't even know if that's really been explored because in the game Jefferson dies like right away. So
In the comics, but they do, but they're also like both his parents are dead, so
in the game, like in the last cutscene of the Miles Morales game, Rio finds out that he's Spider-Man. And like after that there's like that whole there's the best fucking the best side quest in the whole fucking game where you have to go around collecting the postcards and it's like the like scavenger hunt. You remember that?
is that when you get the bodega cat suit?
No, that's right before you. That's after you 100% of the game you unlock that side quest where you go around and you have to get the postcards that were left behind by Miles's dad before he died and it was meant for his 18th birthday.
Okay, okay.
Do you remember that cutscene? And then at the end you get that phone call at the
I don't
end.
remember now.
You don't remember that? It's a good dude. It's such a good. It's so good. Well, you must have done it if you got the platinum
Oh yeah, I got
trophy.
the platinums. I've done it. I remember.
But yeah, like the if in the next movie or like hopefully in the next movie, because I don't want it to be the last thing that happens in the last movie, but hopefully in the next movie his parents find out because I think like we talked about this in almost every superhero movie that we've ever covered is that the whole secret identity shtick doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah, it's a dated.
Yeah, we're not gonna open that can of worms again. I think we talked about it in our review for the Batman and our review for Spider-Man No Way Home. So if you want to hear more about that thing, check out those episodes. Like I kind of hope that like because Miles is a lot looser with his secret identity. He tells like everybody in the
He,
game.
he tells Genki like immediately in this movie too.
In the game, he tells Peter, not even knowing that Peter is Spider-Man. He just trusts Peter enough to tell him. He didn't know that Peter was Spider-Man when he told him.
Yep. And he tells Finn and he tells Genki in the game as well.
Yeah, and then later on, his mother finds out, and I'm sure if both his parents were alive, he would have told them. He tells Uncle Aaron, so it's like, okay. And then in the like, don't get me started with Tom Holland. He tells literally everybody. Like he doesn't even care anymore. He's just he tells fucking Ned. He tells MJ. He tells well MJ finds out on her own, but he confirms it, and then he tells John Favreau, I forgot the character's name. Happy.
Aunt May, the Avengers
Yeah,
for the
Aunt
most
May.
part.
Well, I mean, the
Like,
Avengers just know. They know.
yeah, like a lot of people, even before it's revealed, a lot of people just know. He tells Quentin Beck.
He tells his villains.
He tells his villain. So he didn't know he was a villain at the time, but still.
Yeah. It's really like a dated thing, like we said before. So I really hope that Jefferson either finds out on his own or he just straight up tells him. Like, what? I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think they're going to be in the movie too much, honestly.
The parents?
Yeah, I feel like we're going to be dimension hopping basically immediately. So we'll see. But yeah, like I like I don't know the secret identity thing is super dated. It's not necessary anymore. But I also don't mind if he keeps it. Like it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, he is Spider-Man, so it's like his main thing. He doesn't tell anybody. But I mean, like, what else is there? I mean, I think we pretty much covered the. We've been talking for an hour and a half.
And I think I covered most of what I wanted to say. I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure I'll have regrets after the episode goes up. And I'll think, oh, I wish I talked about that scene where Miles jumps over a car. And it's like, whoa.
Like that's every fucking episode. I mean, okay, here's something we didn't cover that I kind of want to. All the like scenes where they introduce the spider people and they go through their backstories with the comic books. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that aesthetic. It's really, really cool.
And I love the whole like one main theme. Like I don't remember what the word is called. Man, I took a fucking creative writing course. And I don't remember what it's called. uh, like when there's an item or object in the movie that's like that has like a particular meaning that's shown every like I forgot what it's called, but like it's the "Hello, my name is" tag. Like that's shown that's everywhere in the movie because like whenever you get introduced, there's like "Hello, my name is Peter Parker, Peter B. Parker, Penny Parker, Gwen Stacy." It says it, and then like later when they go to the spider lair and Aunt May hands Peter B and Miles and Gwen, he hands her Sharpies and three of them is like, "You're gonna need these." And three of the "Hello, my name is" thing. It's pretty cool. The word that's coming to my brain is atomization, but that's not a word. Objectificate, that's also not it.
I don't know.
Symbolism? Might be that. I don't know, but anyways, that's pretty much it. We covered everything you want to cover. There's a lot we didn't cover for my favorite movie and Pat's favorite movie, but it's because like it's our favorite movies. There's a lot to say, and it's really hard to condense it into 1 hour. I mean, we've been going for longer than we thought we would this episode, but
Yeah, just go out there and watch the movie. If for some reason you haven't seen it, please do.
you gotta watch it. It's number 14 on Letterboxd's top 250. It's in the top 50 of IMDb's top 250. I don't remember where in the position it is. Editor's note, I just looked up where it is on IMDb's top 250. It's on number 69. Nice. It's a very popular movie. 5 stars from me, 5 stars from Pat, 5 stars from pretty much everybody who's ever watched it. It's a really, 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 really good movie, and you'd be hard pressed to find something that's as good as this. Like even if it's not even in my personal top 50 favorite movies, but it's in my list of the top 10 objectively best movies. It's in that list. I think it's number 7 or whatever. I'm not gonna. If you want to check out that list, you can find it on my Letterboxd account. But yeah, that's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Great movie.
It's real good.
Real good. And that concludes our 1 year anniversary special. That was a wild ride, wasn't it? 1 year. Wow. Jeez.
1 year.
I still can't get over it, man.
Next time we're back to our usual shtick, and we're talking about a movie you guys recommended us.
Yep, one of you fine viewers, listeners, recommended us Click, an Adam Sandler movie, and we're gonna review that next episode, next week. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to recommend us a movie that we're gonna do an episode on, make sure to check out our Linktree, linktr.ee/fresh-off-the-reel, where you can find the link to recommend us a film or TV show that we'll use for an episode. On that Linktree, you can also find all of our socials. So make sure to follow them for updates and sometimes funnies like the chats that me and Pat have every so often. And then you got our Letterboxd accounts at the very bottom of that link tree to check out our lists or our reviews and check out some podcast spoilers because we review movies all the time. We heavily update our Letterboxd very regularly. Like I go on Letterboxd every fucking day. So make sure to check that out. But with that, thank you all so much for 1 year of Fresh Off the Reel. Here's to another 10 years of Fresh Off the Reel. And we'll see all of you in a theater near you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.